Well, howdy and welcome to the Bender Bunker, your online resource for Bender country guitar since, well, all the way back there in 2017. And it is time to get back in the saddle and back on the Bender horse, if you will. Haven't put out too much on the channel here the last few months. Been taking a little time, doing some traveling, taking care of some personal business, and honestly just playing a boatload of guitar, but not in front of a camera. Sometimes you got to do that, you know, just go away, play guitar, don't worry about filming anything. Try and come up with some new things to offer, or at the very least, some variations on the old ones. That's what we've got today, I think. But anyway, I want to get things kicked off here and get a few more Bender licks and lessons going here as we head into summer of 2025. So let's get going now with Back in the Saddle. That little intro you just heard, and I tried to throw a bunch of stuff in there, something for some first-year players, some multi-year players, a little something for everybody, if you will. And we're going to cover that in great detail. Now, I'm going to break that into chapters, as I always do. What's a chapter? Well, those are little chapters at the bottom of your screen where you can take your mouse, click on it, and go right to it. Skip all this talking, all that good stuff, whatever you want to do. The chapters put you in the driver's seat. And I'll break it into 4 chapters. I'm going to start with the easy stuff. Now, that backing track at the intro you just heard, that's G and D. So, of course, we are corresponding our lead action over the chord changes, because if we didn't, it'd just be jazz. So we're going with G and D. We're going to start off. Chapter 1 will be the intro stuff. It'll be the easy stuff. We're in G. Switching over to D. It's really just 3 variations on each of the 2 chord changes and using the bender to make it sound fancy. So that'll be chapter 1. Now, chapter 2 will be the first half of the main, what I'll call the main lick. That's where it gets a little bit twangy and hectic. It's that. We'll go over that in great detail, I promise. And then the second half, chapter 3 of that lick, will be more of this. Cover all that good stuff. And then finally with chapter 4, I'll go in and circle back and cover some of the harmonic stuff you hear me play. Anyone that's watched this channel for any length of time knows I am a sucker for harmonics. So we threw a few of those into this lesson. So this kind of thing. That's what we'll finish strong with on chapter 4. So that's all we've got ahead of us. I don't need to do too much more talking. I think you know what's about to happen. So go grab that Bender guitar and let's get on and get back in the saddle indeed. Of course, we got to take care of some YouTube business before we get going. That's just what you do on YouTube. I've been watching a lot of other channels trying to get some ideas for this part. This is the part where I tell you, you know, you got to help the channel out with the thumbs up. I like to say that let's just appease our AI YouTube overlords and give us a quick thumbs up to appease that algorithm and let it know that you might like to see more Bender country guitar in your YouTube feed, and maybe that'll work. So let's try it. Maybe more Bender guitar, less politics. That could be fun. Secondly, if you enjoy hot Bender guitar action, which you've been doing well over 7 years now, and this is probably the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe, and why wouldn't you? I think if you like this kind of stuff, it's me and like 2 other channels worldwide for the Bender guitar. So hey, become a subscriber. We've got that button waiting for you in the bottom corner. So as they say in YouTube lingo, smash it, destroy it, penetrate the subscription button. I just don't want to see that, but go ahead. And then lastly, as we kick off summer here at the bunker in Central Texas, things are indeed heating up with the weather. And I'm sad to report that the Bender Bunker beer fridge is empty. Yep, there's a sad photo. So if you'd like to throw a little scratch our way, you got a little something extra. That's just a little something we call virtual beer donation, amount of your choice, the old proverbial tip jar if you're enjoying the content. And you can do that safely and securely via the Bender Bunker's PayPal account, the link for which is always in the details section below each video. All right, that's it. No more talking. Use the chapters to your advantage, and let's get back in the saddle together here as we head into the summer here at the Bender Bunker. Chapter 1, let's start at the beginning, shall we? We're going to start off with some of the easier stuff of this episode. Nothing too crazy before we get to the hectic stuff. Got to stretch out a little bit, right? We don't want to pull a Bender hammy. And again, as I mentioned in the intro, the backing track was going between the chords of G and D. So, of course, what we're doing with our Bender and our leads will follow along accordingly. We are going to learn this section now. It's really just the top 3 strings. Again, with all these chapters, just concentrate on what my fret hand's doing, the chord positions for the bender work. Watch the bender mechanism here, engaged, unengaged, right? And at the end of each chapter, I'll have pick hand cam so you can really see what my right hand's doing, and that'll allow you to really start off these chapters just concentrating what's going on here and here. All right, so don't worry about this. We'll get to this at the end. All right, so we're going to start with G and then go to D. Each of these have 3 different chord positions for a total of 6 things I'm going to be showing you. This is what it sounds like. You heard this in the intro. Again, that was G, D. Each had 3 for a total of 6. Let's knock them out right now. I'm going to start you with the positions. Again, top 3 strings only. We're in G, so think about making a G bar chord right here, top 3 strings. So that's what, 3, 3, 4. But we're going to leave the high E string open, so it's open 3, 4. And I've got my index finger and middle finger there, as you can see. So that's what the first position for G sounds like. We're going to go up here, leave the high E string open again. I'm switching over fingers now. I'm going middle finger on 3rd string 7th and ring finger right next to it on B string 8th and the high E open. This second position for G sounds like. Then we're going to go up here to the G bender box, and we're going to use all 3 strings this time. Not going to leave the high E open. We're going to do an octave of it on the 12th. So I've got my index finger on the B string 10th, middle finger is going on the G string 12th, and then my ring finger's hopping over here on the high E 12. So we've got 12, 10, 12 on the top 3 strings, kind of making that pyramid, right? So again, those 3 positions. That doesn't sound like anything, so we better play it up to speed and then get that bender involved, right? So this is going to sound like this. Now that you know the positions, this is now we're going to do what the bender's doing in these positions. So I took it up, engaged it, and brought it back down for position 1. I'm going to bring it, that's just up and down 1 time. Switch to position 2, same thing, up and down 1 time. And then we go up here to position 3, it's going to go up and down twice this time. All right, so bender engaged, unengaged. Position 1, same for position 2, and then engaged, unengaged twice in position 3. Real quick, sounds like this. All right, that's G. Now let's switch over to D. We're going to learn those 3 chord positions, very close to what we just learned. Since we're in D, let's just think about making a straight cowboy D chord right there. But again, like we did before, let's leave the high E open, all right? So now we've got high E, then we've got 2nd string 3rd and 3rd string 2nd, D chord. That's position 1 for D. Position 2 is going to be, again, high E remains open. I've got my index finger on the 2nd string 5th and right next to it on the 3rd string 7th with my ring. That's position 2 for D, and then we're going to end strong up here. Let's pretend we're making a high D bar chord. Let's just do the top 3 strings of that. So index finger's covering the top 2 on the 10th, and my middle finger's falling right down to 3rd string 11th. So position 1. Position 2, position 3. All right, bender, same as before. We're going to go up and down once on position 1 and 2, and then up and down twice when we get to position 3. That sounds like this. So just keep working on that. You can change the finger positions around to whatever feels natural for you, okay? But it's really a bit about those transitions. It's going to just take a few times to get them smooth, so play along with it. All right, G and D together. There you go. Those are the finger positions, the bender, everything you need. Let's get up and close now for pick hand cam. All right, welcome to pick hand cam for chapter 1. You just learned the 3 positions and bender moves for the G and D transitions. Let's learn what the pick hand's doing. As with every chapter in this lesson and everything you saw me do in the intro, I played it with my thumb and my index finger. That is my preferred way of picking, and I will show you how I did it. After I get through with that, I'll pick up a pick and show you how to play with just a pick as well, so you can cover all the bases. So here we are on position 1 for G, right? And that's one of the things I like about using my thumb and index fingers. I can go thumb, third string, and index finger, second string, and pick them at the exact same time together. With a pick, you're always going to hit one before the other, right? This way you go exact same time. So we take the bender up once and let it down. And here's the picking pattern. So again, high E index, thumb, and the index to the B string. We'll go up to the second position for G, exact same thing, picking them together, taking that bender up. Final third position for G, again, this is 12, 10, 12, right, on the frets. Still doing the 3 and 2 string together. Bender goes up and down twice, of course, as we just learned, and this is how that picking pattern goes. All right, that's how I played it exactly. Now here is the pick. Let's get that. Haven't tried it yet, but it should be okay if we take it slow. Again, since I can't pick them together, I'm going to down pick them starting on the third string. Certainly possible. All right. You have a choice of the pick, fingers, whatever works for you. That is Pick Hand Cam for Chapter 1. Chapter 2, all right, we're about to pick up the pace now, get a lot more twangy, and get our bender really in use. As with all these chapters, let's not worry about what the pick hand's doing quite yet. I will circle back to that in full glory at the end of this chapter. Pay attention to the fret hand and the bender mechanism for now. Chapter 2 is going to be the main riff from the intro cut in half, a G section and a D section. It's going to sound like this. Here's what we're about to cover. Yeehaw. All right, let's dive into that, shall we? We are starting in G, so let's do a whole lot of G in a hurry by taking our little finger, covering the top 2 on the 15th. Allows our index finger to fall naturally on the G note, third string 12, so we've got a whole lot of G right here. Top 3 strings, 12, 15, 15. All right, that's going to get us started for this. What you'll see later in pick hand cam is I'm hitting the 3 and 2 strings together in this position and taking the bender up and holding it engaged like that. And then I'm hitting the high E 15th that's already covered by my little finger after I do that. That's how we start. And then what I do is my index finger's already there on the 12th fret. I'm just rolling it over to the high E now instead of the third string, the high E for a note. So now we've got, and the bender's fully engaged still. Now we're going to go do some work in the G bender box. You knew we would. So let's take that index finger and let it slide down 2 to the top 2 on the 10th. And then I'm going to let my ring finger wander over to the third string 12th G note, and I've made the top 3 strings of the G bender box, okay? Bender's still engaged, so to let it down, I'm going to start on the high E 10th. When I get to the B string 10th, I'm letting the bender down and then hitting that third string 12th. And the bender's unengaged. So here's what we've got so far. All right, we're going to do a lot of work right here in this area now real quick. What I'm going to do now is just, I've already got my index finger on the second string, B string 10th, so I'm just going to pick that for a note and take the bender up. And then I'm going to do my ring finger for a quick note on the high E 12th. And then come right back to the B string 10th and let the bender down. And then end on that G note, third string 12th. And then the bender's unengaged. That's what we know so far. Now, next part is I'm going to pre-engage the bender before I pick anything so we don't hear this pre-engaged, but the bender's engaged right now. And then I'm going to do kind of what I was doing before. I'm alternating between the high E 12th and then my index finger's covering the top 2 on the 10th again, right? Because we're still working out of the G bender box. So I'm doing, with the bender engaged, I'm doing a quick 1 note on the high E 12th. Right back to the B string 10th. And then up to the high E10. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the B string 10th to let the bender down. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th, it's the B string coming down with the bender. Bender's unengaged. And then I've got my ring finger, just falls naturally back to the third string 12th, the G note. Everything's ringing nicely together for G. And then I'm just going to pick that third string, second string, 12, 10 together, and take the bender up. And that's that whole sequence. Let's go through it. Pre-engage. Up to speed. All right, now go over some of that percussive picking and pick hand cam at the end of the chapter. Now let's move over to the D riff. All right, time to switch over to the key of D. We already just learned the G riff. We're still in chapter 2, so let's learn the D. Now, the way this really goes, the first half of the riff I'm showing you here in chapter 2, we learn the G section. I'm going to show you the D. It goes back to the G section that you just learned, plays it, no difference, plays it exactly the same as what you just learned. And then I'm going to go back to the D section again and a slight variation. So I'm going to show you 2 variations on D. The first one sounds like this. All right, so let's learn that one real quick. We came out of the G section we just learned with our index finger covering the top 2 on the 10th. Let's reposition that to the top 2 on the 5th now, because we need to do some work out of the D bender box. So when I get there, because the bender's unengaged, I'm just sliding it down real quick right there. And then I'm going to pick those 2 top strings together on the 5th, take the bender up, hold it, and do one quick note with my little finger on the high E8th. So what you're hearing is you're hearing the B string with the bender engaged on the 5th ringing with the high E8th. And then I'm laying the bender down, and see how you didn't really hear the bender come down? Quiet's really what we're kind of looking for, because we're repositioning for our next move, which is, so we just did that, bender's unengaged, I've got my index finger on the B string 5th. What I'm gonna do is pick it and slide it up, same string to the B string 8th, so 5 to 8. But as I'm doing that, and I wanna hear the pick, and I wanna hear the slide, that's on purpose, but as I'm doing that, I'm also engaging the bender so it's fully engaged by the time my index finger gets to the 8th fret. I wanna hear the slide and the bender activating together, because that's really the only way to get that sound. That one. That one. Now the bender's fully engaged. So when I get there, I'm going to do one quick note. It's already ringing there on the B8th. I'm going to do one quick note with my little finger on the high E10th. Right back to the B string, still bent on the 8th. High E8th, already covered with the index. Right back to the B string 8 so I can let it down on the bender. And then we're doing a note we haven't done yet. The ring finger is going to stretch all the way over here to the 3rd string 11. They're all kind of ringing together now. So here's what we got. And the bender's unengaged. So now what I'm going to do is, it's unengaged, I'm going to just kind of stop the strings from ringing with the back of my hand, and I'm going to do this quick little bender lick. And that'll be the first half of this D lick. So what I did there is I came off with this, unengaged the bender, and then what I just showed you, I want to get back to the top 2 on the 5th like we started with my index finger, but I don't just want to hit it straight. I want to go below it and slide into it. So pick a slide and activating the bender so we can get that. Exactly. And I'm starting somewhere around here, the 1st or 2nd fret, almost doesn't matter. I'm just going for the audio of ultimately arriving at the B string 5th with the bender fully engaged and the slide audio occurring as well. When I get there, the bender's engaged, I do a quick note, very quick note on the high E next to it. And then I do one quick note with my little finger, high E7. Come right back to the B string still bent to let the bender down on the 5th. And then end up with my ring finger on the 3rd string 7. And if you want to get that, when you come back to the B string to let the bender down, the minute you get any audio on that, let that bender down really kind of quick. And then the 3rd string 7. All right, all together. All right, that's D lick variation 1. We do the G riff exactly the way we learned it, and then we do kind of the same thing using all the same notes, but we need some variety, so I'm going to do this instead. So the way I do that, and this is one of the things I really enjoy about having a bender, this move right here. Hard to do without. So what I've repositioned my index finger the way we started last time, top 2 on the 5th. I'm going to go ahead and pick it, take the bender up, let the bender back down kind of quick, slide it from the 5th, top 2, still top 2 strings, up to the 8th. And as I'm sliding from 5 to 8, I re-engage the bender. Now I've only picked it once, so I need to pick it well so that the audio rings, because I'm going to bender up, down, slide, and bend together. And it's still going, right? So you need one pretty good pick on those 2 strings. Now the bender's engaged. And now we're just going to do a very similar lick to what we just learned. We're still covering the top 2 on the 8th. We're going to do one quick note. I'm doing it with my middle finger, high E 10th. And then I'm going to let that up and do high E 8th to the B string 8th to let the bender down. And then what we had before, ring finger going over to 3rd string 11th. So we have the ringing, bender's unengaged. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick. I still have my index finger covering the top 2 on the 8th. I'm going to go ahead and pick the B string, take the bender up, and then immediately hit the high E next to it on the 8th. Bender's engaged. I'm going to slide that down, top 2 5th, and then let the bender down by starting on the high E 5th, B string 5th to let it down, ending up, yep, you guessed it, 3rd string 7th. So all together. B string 8th. All right, so here we go, the 2 variations together. And variation 2. All right, that's the D section here for chapter 2. Let's get crazy with pick hand cam coming up next. All right, it's pick hand for chapter 2. Again, I'll be using my thumb and index finger because that's how I wrote it and what you saw in the intro. And then I'll pick up a pick and we'll try that, and that'll be fun. We'll see what happens there. All right, we're going to get that first G position. And that's one of the things I really do love about finger approach is you can hit 2 strings at the exact same time, unlike a pick. So right here in this first G position, I'm 3 and 2 strings together, thumb, index, and then index, index. Index, index, thumb. And I think it's going to be thumb, index, thumb. Thumb. So that is index, thumb. So I'm alternating index, thumb. And then 3 and 2 together on the string. Now let's talk about percussive notes, chicken picking, if you will. That's what's really going on here in a big way, giving us the sound you're hearing. Of course, that's me just taking my fret hand ever so slightly off the note so it's not so much noted as it is note, percussive note, okay? And that's just pressure right here with my fret hand. So I'm going to play it slowly again, and I will try and overemphasize the chicken picking parts of it. So if you want to try and incorporate that in your playing, you'll have a better idea of where I'm doing it. All right, I hope that helps. Now let's do the 2 variations in D. Again, down here, we're picking those 2 strings together with the thumb and index. Pretty much just alternating between the 2. That's definitely chicken picking. All right, variation 2 on D. And one thing to stress to get it like the intro on this second variation of D is when you get to this part, as they're still ringing, take the bender back up. All right, let's mess around with the pick real quick. Haven't done this, I'll go slow though. So instead of picking, I'll be down picking and then up picking the next 2 notes. And then the second variation of D would be. So certainly doable. You can go either way, and I've shown you both as best I can. Let's move on to chapter 3. Well, okay, let's jump into chapter 3. And if you skip straight here with the chapter headings, good for you, that's fine. But I'm going to remind you that I'm going to do pick hand cam at the end of this chapter, as I do in all the chapters. So you can come out of the gates concentrating on my fret hand and the bender mechanism, knowing that at the end, I'll show you what this hand's doing. We'll put it all together. You'll have the whole thing. I promise. All right, second half of the main riff. That's what chapter 3 is all about. As with the other chapters, we're following the backing track. So we're going to start in G, do some riffing and bending in G, and then switch over to D for the second half. Here's what you're going to be learning in chapter 3 to remind you. Yeehaw, that's a lot of notes. Some say too many. I don't know. It's debatable. But regardless, let me walk you through them. And I'm down here starting in G. When I'm down here in G, I love this jump off maneuver for a bender. So we're going to jump off from there. And what that is I need you to put your index finger on the second string first fret and your little finger on the high E third. And then we're going to leave that third string, your G string, appropriately enough, open. So the top three now sound like this before we get the bender involved. All right, so let's do it this maneuver right here. We've got that position. I want you to either down pick or just pick together the 3 and 2 strings, take the bender up, hold it engaged, and then drop your ring finger where it's hovering down on the second string, third fret, right next to your little finger that's already there on the high E, and then pick those strings next. So we're up with the 3 and 2, and then once the bender's engaged, we're gonna hit the 1 and 2 strings. Sounds like this. We've done that, bender's engaged. We're going to take those same exact 2 fingers on the top 2 on the 3 and slide them up here so they're the top 2 on the 10th. Sounds like this. Right? I want to hear that slide, okay? Make it sound musical. When we get there, bender's engaged, we're going to unengage it by, now that we're on the 10th, high E, B string to let the bender down. Bender's unengaged now. And then we let the index finger do a note on the B string 8th, 2 down. So that's that whole sequence. And by the way, when I do that last little bit, what I am doing is when I hit that index finger on the B string 8th, I'm also picking the high E 10th that I still have my little finger on because they sound so nice together. So all together, practice getting that smooth. Another thing I like to do if you're really feeling slinky is instead of just keeping it fully engaged and sliding up, dip it down a little on your bender and then re-engage by you get there. It sounds like this. Right? Either way there, you get there, you got the 8 and the 10 frets going on the top 2. Bender's unengaged. Now we're going to do this little number here. It's 8 picks, 8 pick events, and I'll show you what those are, but it's these notes. And since we're still in G, here's why this works. I'm starting here in the top 2 on the 10th. That's the top of our G bender box. And then what I'm doing is I'm going down here and I'm tracing the outline of a D chord shape for the key of G that we're in. So we're using a D chord shape into the top 2 of the bender box. That's just all-time classic stuff for a B bender guitar, right? I mean, that gives you that ultimate riff. So that's why it works. And so here's what we're going to do in terms of the lick. We're going to come out, put your little finger covering the top 2 on the 10th, and we're going to do a 3 pick event. I'm going to pick the B string, take the bender up quick, hold it, hit the high E next to it, and then come right back to the B string, but lift my finger up for a dead note. So it's 2 live notes and a dead note. Sounds like this, kind of a triplet thing. Right? 1, 2. All right, and the bender's engaged. Now, got the bender engaged, just did those top 2 on the 10th. I'm going to go ahead and literally trace that D chord shape, all right? And the way I do that is my index finger goes down to the high E 7th for a note. Middle finger drops next to it. Again, think of the D chord shape. So we're 1 up on the B string 8th. When I hit that note, I let the bender down. And then I let the index finger switch over to the 3rd string 7th to complete that D chord shape. So we have... Bender's unengaged now. We went up with the bender, and then as we traced the D chord shape down, we came down. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to do a quick pre-bend. You don't really hear it on the bender. And then let my little finger do the B string 10th for a note, letting the bender down. And then go back to that B string 8th with my index finger. And that's the whole sequence. And that should be 8 picks, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's just repetition and muscle memory to get that sequence. What you could also do in the very last 2 notes, you pre-engage and you do like the 10 and the 8. You can also double stop that. Either way, you're going to end up here with the bender unengaged and your index finger where I want it to be, which is right here on the B string 8th fret, ready to jump over and start playing in the key of D, which we're going to do right now. Okay, so we've got our index finger right where we need it to be on the B string 8th. It's time to switch over and do licks in the key of D. Sounds like this. But let's start off by learning this. We got right there on the B string 8th. It's still got some audio, so we did the... While that's still ringing, I want to use that and just take it and slide my index finger up from the B string 8th to the 13th fret right there, because what we're going to do is utilize the top 2 strings of an octave up D 7th chord, right? Since we're in D now, that's how that's going to work for us. So again, we just... Now there we go. So I took the audio, and while I still had it ringing, I slid it up from the 8th to the 13th. As I did it, classic move we've been doing in this whole lesson, I'm also re-engaging the bender so the bender's fully engaged by the time I get there on the 13th. Now I'm ready for action. I'm going to do that high E next to it there on the 14th. Bender's engaged, of course. Now the way we unengage it is I'm going to drop down after I hit that high E 14th. I'm going to go back with my index finger here and cover the top 2 on the 10th. Start with the high E, and then I hit the B string next to it to let the bender down. But it's a little different this time, so that part's easy. Just high E 10th, B string 10th to let the bender down. But as the bender comes down, I still got my index finger right there on the B string 10th. I'm going to go ahead while it's still ringing and slide it 2 down to the 8th while re-engaging the bender. That's what you're hearing. And that's important to this lick. So here we go, starting from... So that's why I want you to practice this D section, is this part right here. All right, so now we're ready for the next part here with the bender engaging. I've got my index covering the top 2 on the 8th, and it's ringing. And I'm going to do with my, you can do either finger, but, I'm going to use my ring real quick, high E 10 for a note. Come right back to the still bent B on the 8th. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the high E next to it. And then I'm going to hit it back again, B string 8th, to let the bender down. And then like we did in the previous chapter, the ring finger is going to go all the way over here to the 3rd string 11th. So all the way from the beginning of this riff. And of course, by the time we hit that last B string 8th to the 3rd string 11th, we'd let the bender back down. That's the part you got to work on. It's one of the few things you can do with only a bender guitar, and that's the fun part, right? Bender's unengaged. Now we're going to do what we've done in a previous chapter, just a real classic, quick bender lick in D. You can spice it up if you want, but basically what I'm doing is I came off of this, reset myself, and I'm going to use my index finger to go below the top 2 strings on the 5th, slide into them by picking the B string and engaging the bender at the same time, so it's fully engaged by the time I get to the B string 5th. Immediately hit the high E next to it. And a quick note here with my ring finger on the high E7. Right back to the B string, but I still have my index finger there on the 5th. But the minute I hit it, I'm letting that bender down. Bender's unengaged now, and then I end with my ring finger, 3rd string, 7th. You can really chicken picking it up. All right, here we go, the whole D thing together. Coming off of it. Also, another thing I think I did in the intro, when I got to this very last part, I went. So that was just top 2/5. I went way up here with my little finger for one quick note on the high E8. Back to the. Still ended up on the same 3rd string 7. All right, I'm going to play the whole G and D together, and we'll get on out of here onto the next chapter. All right, you have the G, that's chapter 2. Now you have the D, that's chapter 3. Put them together, you got the whole riff, good times. Let's get to pick hand cam now for chapter 3. All right, here we go with pick hand cam for chapter 3. As with the other chapters, should be a surprise to no one. I'll be using my thumb and index finger because that's how I wrote it and what you saw in the intro. And then I'll pick up a pick at the end of it and we'll see what happens there. I never know what's going to happen. One of the things I love about using just fingers is that you get to pick strings at the exact same time. And that's what I'm doing here to start us off with the... So we do that opening G position. It's 3-2 together with thumb index. And then the top 2 on the 3rd again, thumb index. Slide up, and then I'm doing, I think it's index, index. And then thumb index together again for that 10-8. All right, this next move, we start off with those 8 pick attacks. The top 3 being a triplet with the 3rd a dead note. And that's just thumb, index, back to thumb. Tracing the D chord shape for G, that's going to be index, index, thumb. So it's pre-engaged, and I think it's just index, index. Now we're gonna, this is ringing, so we really don't pick it. The way I play it, I really don't pick it. I'm sliding up to the next position for the D7. I get there, index. Now remember this position? We're letting the bender down. I'm doing just index, index. And then re-engaging the bender. Now it's going to be a combination of thumb over there on the 3rd string of 11. And then this classic lick. That's going to be thumb, index. Or. All right, let's try a pick, see what happens. I don't know. I don't play this with a pick, but here's how I would try and do it slowly. Doable. All right, you've got pick hand cam for chapter 3. You've got everything you need to be in dangerous on this bad boy. Enjoy. All right, welcome to the 4th and final chapter of the Back in the Saddle epic, or has it turned into an epic? This is getting very long, but we're going to end with some harmonic craziness as promised, and as what you saw in the intro of this bad boy. I do love me some harmonics, especially when I'm playing in the key of G or D. Doesn't matter about a bender, just as a guitar player, I love those 2 keys for harmonics. You know, you've got all kinds of goodness. So what I'm doing here for that intro that I'm about to show you, by the way, it's all picks. So it won't have pick hand cam at the end of this. It's all picks. So no need to do pick hand there. I'm working on just, when you hear harmonics, it's just the 4, 3, and 2 strings, all right? And I'm here on the 12th fret for G. I'm on the 7th for D. And what I mean by that as well is you want to be right on the fret bar there, right? Right at the top end of that 12th for getting maximum harmonic goodness. So what you saw me do in the intro to begin with was this. and that's G, of course. So what I did is just walk it. Started 4, 3, 2 harmonics. When I got to that last harmonic, I pre-engaged the bender, and I went straight into the G bender box, which means that my index finger was covering the top 2 on the 10th, and my ring finger came over to the 3rd string 12, so I could go. Just walk it down, high E, B string down to that 3rd string 12. And as those are ringing, I just down pick the top 3 and take it back up. So when I walk the harmonics into what I just showed you, it's this. What you got to kind of work on is when you get to the last of the 3 harmonics, you don't want to hear that one go up with your bender, but you do have to pre-engage, right? So you just kind of mute it with the back of your pick hand, and you're moving at such a speed that it works out. We're going to do the exact same thing down here on the 7th fret for D. Those harmonics, of course, the D bender box will be the top 2 on the 5th and the 3rd string 7th, right? So up here on the 7th for the 4, 3, 2 harmonics. Now I just got a little crazy when I did it the second time. It's the same 4, 3, 2 strings in the same 2 positions for G and D. I just went a little bit nuts with the harmonic. So I start with the 4th string for a note, and then I do 1, 2, 3 up, and I come back to the 3rd string for that final note. That's what you're hearing. Boom, bam, bam. And as that's ringing out, I'm doing the exact same thing you just learned. A quick pre-engage in the G bender box. So this is what it sounds like. And I threw that part in at the end. So you already know that. Once you get this, you already know this. Now as that's ringing and I took the bender back up, I'm actually going to let it back down. It's still ringing. I'm going to use that, while it's still ringing, I'm going to use that audio to slide my index finger from the top 2 on the 10th to the top 2 on the 15th, which would be the top 2 strings of a G bar chord. That's why it works in G, by the way. And as I'm sliding up, I'm coming down on the bender, I'm sliding up, engaging, so it's fully engaged when I get to the 15th, and then I'm just going high E, B string to let it down with 2 pick. Excuse me. With the harmonics. Same exact thing for D, except we're going to be sliding from the 5th fret up here to the 10th, okay? And that's your G and D harmonics. Okay, that's everything. This bad boy got long on me. I hope you enjoyed it, though. I hope you at least found the chapters that made you happy, and you can learn the bits and pieces you like. Make them your own. That's always been the point of this channel. I'm going to get on out of here, and I'll see you again real soon. Remember, it is never too late to go on a bender. I certainly hope you do. I'll see you again real soon as we kick off the new summer with some more hot bender action coming your way in the weeks and months ahead. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it bent.